right, it's hobby nonsense time, people. It's Jesse Gibson. I'm your host. Welcome to the show. I am getting started with a little update. Our interview last week, we had the guys from Pieces of the Past. It's Super Products is the name, but Pieces of the Past, Keepsake. These are some of the things that you guys were more familiar with. They were really cool. They sent over a box of little, well, not little. I mean, they're boxes of their products. So some of the Bruce Lee stuff. There was some Pieces of the Past material. There was at least one dinosaur like relic thing in there. It's very cool. As a thank you to the listeners, I wanted to pass this along. So in some of my breaks, I break on Fanatics Live. I'm going to do some giveaways there with some of these items. But I also was going to say at least the Bruce Lee box. I think what I'll end up doing with that is do a giveaway. I mentioned last time that I've been working with Courtyard, which again, I find very, very interesting to see how they've grown and how useful their site is. But I told everybody there's a discount code HOBBY. It gets you basically a redemption of anytime, well, for your first time, I should say. First time you go out and use the service, you buy a $50 or $25 pack from one of their vending machines, you get a full buyback offer, so there's no loss of any money there. Anybody who pulls a card, whether it's a $10 card or a $100 card or whatever it is, when you do it, when you use the service, send it over to me on the Hobby Nonsense Instagram page or on the Non-Sports Cards Nonsense Facebook group. That's where I do a lot of posting. I'm thinking about changing the name of that to Hobby Nonsense, in fact, just to, synergy and all that nonsense. But anyways, post it up there. There's a featured post in the group for giveaways and things like that related to collectible. If you post a picture or a snapshot of whatever card you got in the vending machine, you will be entered to get the Bruce Lee keepsake box. There you go. That's it. There's a lot going on in today's episode. As you can tell, brain is a little all over the place. I'll explain at the very end of the show what's going on. But that being said, we have an excellent interview. I think it was a lot of fun because I learned a lot personally. I think you guys are going to learn a lot because I don't think I've ever actually talked to anybody on the subject of sketches before, whether it's on SCN or on this podcast. I learned a lot of information about like what is chaseable, what is more appealing, specifically as it relates to Marvel sketches, because Justin Underwood is the guest that I have on. He goes by Spidey Hits on YouTube. He goes after a lot of sketches, but he basically talks a lot about the sketch card industry, that side of the hobby, and as it relates to both newer products and older ones. I thought it was really cool, really interesting to find out more about, what some of these artists are doing to, I guess, elevate the card space, but also talking about how some of them have sold for tons of money and how they are more chased than in some products, they are the most chased card in that entire product. But anyways, we go into all that stuff. Interview is coming up here shortly. Before we get to that, there's a few things I want to talk about. First off, a thank you. Thank you to Mazu. I don't know if he wants me giving out his full name. When I got to the office today, there was like a little gift bag, a little care package from him. He had sent he just said a thank you. It was thanking me for the podcast, the Hobby Nonsense podcast, and for SCN and everything else. I just really appreciate it. It was some, if you guys are familiar with Iron Giant, the animated movie, I mean, maybe I don't know if it was the first animated movie to make me tear up, because I feel like Lion King may have done that when Mufasa died. I'm so sorry. Spoiler alert. My bad. Spoiler alert. But that said, I think Iron Giant is definitely up there with tear jerkers, but also just awesome movies. He sent me over these like really cool, I guess they were in theaters, keychains or something like that. Also a Ninja Turtles pin, a Tennessee Allen and Ginter mini card. They're things that I personally would enjoy, and I think he knows it just because he listens to the pods and things like that. It just felt very personal, and I thank you, Mazu. Thank you for doing that. Now then, let's talk about new releases. New releases is something that's very interesting. So first off, you've got coming up this week, you've got Stranger Things. So Stranger Things High Tech is coming out. I think this is going to be somewhat desirable. It's still got a decent enough fan base. It's no longer like under the Zero Cool branding. It's just now under Topps Stranger Things. I know for a fact there's going to be a lot of guys chasing some of the hits in there. I'm not as big of a high-tech guy. I actually did not get any of this product myself, but I do think there's going to be enough demand for it. If you're into it, you could probably go after the cards you want, collect those, and probably have an opportunity to flip anything that you're not directly collecting. But that said, Stranger Things is one of those, if you haven't watched the series, maybe you don't care all that much about it. So it's definitely doesn't have the same IP, intellectual property size of, say, a Disney or Star Wars, but I do like the fact that they're doing more non-sport cards in general. So I don't care what it is. I like it. I'm all here for it. That one is coming out on the 11th. So that's this coming Friday. Another release that comes out actually next week. I was going to at least mention now, though. It's the Star Wars Masterwork product. This is 2024. Star Wars Masterwork comes out next week. It's very exciting. By the time the next pod releases, it will be actually, I think, probably the day of release. So I wanted to at least mention it now. I will be doing breaks on Fanatics Live if you guys want to get in there. That's all cool. No pressure on that. But I am excited about this because it feels like this is kind of for me, Galaxy was my favorite. I think it's kind of solidifying as my favorite product of Star Wars cards that comes out. However, Masterwork is probably a very close second. I mean, for most people, I think Masterwork is the number one. It's got amazing cards in here. I'm actually, hang on, I'll pull up the checklist real quick, or not the checklist, but at least some of the I guess more chaseable elements of the product. So you are going to have 2 autographs per master box. So they say master box because each box has 4 mini boxes in it. So there's at least 2 autos in every box. And then the other ones have like memorabilia. There's sketch cards in here, which again, we could talk more about sketches later in the show. But there's also parallels, a number of cool inserts that people may like. I like this idea of the Force spirits. So they've got basically the members of the Star Wars galaxy who are no longer with us, who have, I guess, passed along to the Force in this series. But it looks kind of cool. I think it's a unique thing they haven't done before. Some of the sketches, just the sample artist picks that they've shown are very, very cool. I am very interested in this product. I think other guys are going to be interested. I want to at least mention, if you did not know about it, check it out. Go look at some picks online, get into a break, or just see if you can find one at a local card shop. That would be my ideal choice for you. But it's a very desirable product. The fact that it is coming out next week, we have to wait a little bit longer. But in the meantime, you could go after what I feel is going to be maybe the dark horse, under the radar, non-sport card product of the first half of the year, at least. 2024 Panini Minecraft. Now, I went and saw this movie last night with my daughter. I will tell you, I am a big Napoleon Dynamite fan. Jared Hess is the director of that film. He also did Nacho Libre. He did a number of other very funny movies, and he directed Minecraft as well. I did not realize this until I was actually sitting down watching the movie, and I'm like, I'm getting some strong Napoleon vibes here. It was so funny. As someone who also really likes, I love Minecraft. I love playing. I've got multiple worlds. I play it on my desktop, on my tablet, on my Switch. Basically, I've got the game everywhere. So I am a little bit of a nerd when it comes to Minecraft. However, the humor that they tied into it, I can just tell you from listening to the rest of the audience, it was going to be a hit, and already box office is showing it. It's killing it as far as numbers go, especially compared to the fact that it's got a 50% Rotten Tomatoes. That's a joke. That is a joke. But besides that point, you listen to the audience and they are screaming. They are so excited. And normally, I will say, I find that very upsetting and annoying. However, I was kind of right there. I was super pumped when they, I'm trying not to say too many spoilers, but from like the trailer, they had the chicken jockey. When that happened in the movie, people lost their minds. And I kept trying. I was like, oh, I have to record this at one point. At the very end of the movie, I did actually catch just a small amount of cheering at the very end, because I was like, oh, well, if they're going to cheer at any point, they'll probably cheer when the movie's over. And inevitably they did. So I did catch just a brief moment of that. Here, I've got my phone hooked up here, and you guys can listen to what I heard in the audience. It sounded like this. Yeah, I caught the tail end of it. It was insane. So all that being said, Panini very wisely has come out with a new Star Wars, a new Minecraft product. And that Minecraft product is getting into people's hands. They already had like a pre-release. It's sold on the website. It's been sold out. And now everyone's getting their hobby boxes. There's also mega boxes and blaster boxes and things like that. People are now getting them. It's sold for $80 on Panini's website. But now people are starting to show some of the hits. Some guys have already gotten their boxes, and people are starting to show that there are color blasts in this thing of Minecraft characters. There's like the Ender Dragon has a color blast card. So the Ender Dragon has a color blast. Steve has a color blast. There's a number of other characters that have color blasts. And I kid you not, this is like in the last few hours, I'm noticing like people, I went to go buy a box, and as I was going to buy the box, I got an update. It's like, oh, your cart's empty. That's no longer available. I went to another site. I was like, oh, wow, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get a few of these. I tried to buy 8 boxes, and I got an update. It's like, oh, well, you can have 3 because they updated it, and apparently other people were going. It is a very hot product at this moment, guys. I went and saw one of the on bids color blasts of Steve has 5 days left. It's already at $534. I'm not saying like, if you're not a fan of Minecraft, and I plan on breaking some of it. That's why I was buying more of it, because I want to keep some for me and I want to break some of it. But if you're not a big fan of it, I'm not encouraging you to go out and flip it. I want you to save it for the rest of the people who are fans. But at the same time, if I'm saying I'm going to break it and make money on it, I can't fault you for doing the same. So do what you will. But at the same token, leave some for the kids, I guess. I don't know. This is my prediction. First half of the year, this is the sleeper product of the year, Panini Minecraft. It's a popular movie. That popularity of the movie and the game is only going to help booster the product itself, and the fact that you got color blast inserts in there. It's just a recipe made for success in my book. So we'll find out. But that was one of the new releases I had to get out there and mention. I'm trying to think, there's other things, but we got a longer interview. Let's just go ahead and jump right into that. And then, I'll end the show with one additional note. All right. Justin Underwood of Spidey Hits on YouTube. Justin, thank you for joining the show. I appreciate this. And I want the audience to know, Justin and I met just a few days ago over a phone call from a mutual friend. Justin, I wanted to have you on because you are, after we talked for a few minutes, you're one of the only like Southerners I know that seems to be into non-sport cards. So I appreciate that. But I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what you do in the Marvel card space. But first off, how are you? Thanks for joining.
I'm well. I'm very excited to be here.
How long have you been into Marvel cards specifically?
Yeah, I started collecting Marvel cards in probably 93, 94-ish with my twin brother. I have a twin named Dustin.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, we collected as kids, took a break to be adults, and then came back into the hobby full force around when most people, our age got back into it, during COVID.
So let me just clarify one point you made there. You have a twin brother and his name's Dustin. So you're Justin and Dustin?
That is correct.
That's all I needed to know. Thank you, sir. All right. So you've been collecting Marvel cards for a long time now, but obviously you're just getting back into it. And when we talked, and something that I wanted to share with the audience was your knowledge on sketch cards, because I feel like sketches are becoming more and more of like the chase when guys are opening product, whether you're opening a Marvel product or a Star Wars product, or even I feel like I'm seeing them for just about every non-sport product these days. So tell me a little bit about, did you always collect sketches, or is this something new?
Yeah, so sketches have a deep history, a deep, rich history. When I collected from, say, 93, 94 to 96 as a kid, sketches were not in Marvel card products. If you know kind of the history of Marvel trading cards, had a big boom starting in the 90s. Marvel went public as a company. Marvel purchased the sports brand most people know called Skybox.
Yep.
And then they turned around and eventually purchased Fleer. And so they acquired these two huge trading card companies that were making sports cards. And then they started making Marvel trading cards under those brands as well. But the comic book industry, the cards, coins, and collectibles type stores, all of those started going out of business in 96. Marvel files bankruptcy in 1996. And in 1997, they actually produced their very first pack-pulled trading card. Sketch card, pack-pulled sketch card in Marvel card products. So we've had sketch cards in Marvel cards since 1997. A lot of people don't realize that.
And those were coming out from Upper Deck at that point, or is that still when they were like Fleer, Skybox was their own thing?
Fleer, Skybox, they put out a product called Fleer Ultra Spider-Man, 1997 Fleer Ultra Spider-Man.
Okay.
They followed that up with two more releases in 1998, and then it went away again. And it went away 99, 2000. There's nothing, like no Marvel cards, essentially. And then in 2001, Topps released a product called Marvel Legends, Topps Marvel Legends. And in that product, they had sketch cards. But then it disappeared again until 2007, when it showed up as Marvel Masterpieces. The first ever pack pull sketches for Marvel Masterpieces was 2007, 2008. I actually did three releases: a 2007 release, a 2008A, a 2008B. Those had sketches, and those were in every box, a sketch per box.
Oh, wow.
And then it turns into this kind of confusing history between Rittenhouse and Upper Deck until Upper Deck kind of fully secures the license around 2013, 2014. And then we can go on from there, in terms of the history of sketches.
So I would like to go on from there. Before we do that, so you said, what year was it? The first sketch came out was 96?
1997. Again, for Marvel cards. There have been sketch cards and other products like The Simpsons.
Yeah,
had a release, but they were redemptions, not pack inserted.
Oh, the Art of Bart. We know that card very well. Yeah.
Yeah. Original art, man. Good stuff there. And, and there's some other stuff there. It's kind of, but not Marvel specific.
Okay. So since Marvel's your wheelhouse, we'll stick to that. But the sketch cards themselves, were they done by comic book artists like when they first started, or at any point up till now?
In 1997, the sketches were actually done by the creators of Marvel. We're talking about Ron Lim, Stan Lee, John Romita Sr., and the list goes, Bill Sienkiewicz, the list goes on and on. We're talking about the creators for Marvel comic books. Those were the ones who did the first original sketch cards.
Wow. I have to assume those are pretty rare these days, or do they still pop up pretty often, like on resale sites?
In 1997, the odds of those were one per case.
Oh,
so
wow.
I think it's 1 in 288 packs. or something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head the pack odd ratios, but it's one per case. A 1997 box of Fleer Ultra Spider-Man goes anywhere from $800 to $1,500 a box, but you're not guaranteed the sketch. More than likely, if you're opening a box today, the collector's already hit the sketch in the case and selling the loose boxes. You're going to be really careful about that. I spent the better part of 4 years trying to acquire one sketch from 1997 Fleer Ultra Spider-Man, and I finally got it. I think it was at the beginning of 2024. I finally obtained mine.
Really? What? Do you mind me asking what did you pay for that?
I paid like 400 and something bucks for it, but I was able to get it on this random obscure auction.
Oh, really?
It was not a place where people sell cards. I lucked into discovering it because a friend of mine saw it who doesn't shop in that price range of cards. And had it been eBay, Golden, Heritage, it likely would have went for a lot more.
So the reason I ask the price too is not only, we talk about cards, but guys are interested in collecting things that they could maybe consider like an investment or something like that over time. I was looking up before you came on just a few of the sketches from a series past, and I looked up, say, 2014 Rittenhouse Marvel 75th anniversary. I looked up that one, and then I also looked up 2020 Upper Deck Marvel Masterpieces. And when you start going through some of these, if you have like a sketch card include, like if you just leave the search as is, and just look for every card from highest price sold down, I only see sketch cards for 2014 Rittenhouse until you start getting down to like, say, the maybe $200 range. But even below that, then you start seeing some more sketch cards. The same thing when you go to 2020 Masterpieces. There's like, I think there was one card around $350, but everything before that up into the thousands was a sketch card. That was like, these are the biggest chase items in these packs. And I think about how, a lot of people are just being introduced to Marvel cards, whether that's from Topps or maybe more recent releases from Upper Deck. But is that still the case? Is it still that these cards, these sketch cards coming out are garnering such high prices, or was this maybe earlier on? Granted, 2014, 2020, that's not as early, so they're still hitting those high prices, but are those still the chase cards in a lot of these products?
Well, yeah, I mean, when these makers of these cards are looking to build value into their product, they understand that sketches is a way to do that. It's a unique one-of-one hit, right? Because it's not printed anywhere else. It's a piece of original art that is literally on the card, right? If it's color pencil, paint, whatever, that's what's being used on that card. It is the art. The other thing that's unique about it is it's technically published art. So when a sketch card is released through a product, say like Topps just had with X-Men 97, those sketches are approved by Marvel as well. So they're licensed original art.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't think about that. So the fact that Marvel is actually signing off and it being a Marvel approved piece, that kind of gives it a little bit more notoriety, as opposed to like your buddy drawing Wolverine on a card or something and then trying to sell it to you for $5. Exactly.
It's not the same thing as getting a random commission or a remark at a Comic-Con. Those are cool and they have their place in collections. But this is it literally is a piece of published art. You're getting it in your hand through a pack.
Okay. So what are, or I guess I should say, who are some of the more popular sketch artists today?
That's going to be debatable.
Okay.
In the sense that, I get this all the time, where people say, hey, I pulled a sketch. Is it worth a lot of money? That's, mentally, it's easy to make that your first thought, or for it to be the first thought. But it's hard to determine because art is subjective, and then fandom around an artist is subjective. I could pull a Peach Momoka sketch out of Anime Volume 1, and there may be other sketches that people think are more intricate in detail and, maybe they feel like it's just a better piece of art, but Peach Momoko is going to outsell it by 5x because of who she is as an artist. And she's a great artist on top of that. But for the outsider who doesn't know about Peach Momoko, they may not would choose her anime style over something else.
So if it does come down to not just the picture itself, but who's signing it as to the value that someone would pay for it.
And there's more.
Okay.
And let's say someone's trying to build a full set of sketches from a product where they want one from every artist, but that artist only did 5. And they know that. And so now, not only is it a one of one, but the chances of building a set of the artist checklist, because there generally is an artist checklist, then you have to really go hard at the one that only did 5, even if it's not as good of a character or art.
Now, as someone who is breaking some of these products, Star Wars is coming to mind more readily, just because I've broken that recently. And Topps will put on their checklist all the artist names, but I have not seen anything that says how many their artists have done. Now, if they were to add that, do you think that would add more to like the chase of certain artists in there?
Well, I think so, for people who love to build sets. And in Marvel cards, historically, Marvel cards is a trading card set. So trading and building sets is a big component, where like a TCG has a playable component, right? And so people would do the research and they would ask the questions and figure out, hey, this artist says they did roughly 15 or 20, and then people would keep up with that. And that's how that information would get out there. Now, in 1997, just speaking about the Fleer Ultra Spider-Man, they actually published the full checklist of the artist, which characters they did, and how many they did of each character.
Oh, wow.
And that's actually in a magazine called Tough Stuff Magazine. And you can find a copy of that.
Really? That's really cool. Okay. So I am going through, and I just pulled up like I went to eBay, I put in Marvel Sketch, and I just want to find out cards that are available to me. How is it that I go about choosing one other than the art? And here's the thing, I actually don't know if I care all that much about what's going to be most valuable in a lot of these cases, because the art is what's drawing me in. It's what's making it more appealing. But I know that some are going to say, well, yeah, I want that because it looks good, but I also want it to maybe like go up in value over time. So they're probably basing it on who it is and what artist it was, or I'm sorry, how many the artist did. How is it that, like, I guess, is there a name? Is there a checklist of names that like I can say that guy's the best and that guy does okay or something like that?
Well, it's going to depend on what year and what set you're looking at.
Okay.
Because it changes. Example, if you're opening up 2022 Marvel Masterpieces, the artist for 2022 Marvel Masterpieces was Dan DeSantos. Well, his sketches that you can pull in the product are going to be the most valuable sketches because he is the artist for that product. But Dan DeSantos has no sketches in any other product. You can only get it in 2022 Marvel Masterpieces. So to just say one name is not going to serve as well as really doing the research of one set at a time.
Got it. Okay, that makes more sense to me. Now, I'm looking at some of these. One just sold, what was it, last week or maybe 2 weeks ago, from 2021 Marvel, and maybe you can tell me about this. Have you heard of Marvel Premiere Quad? It's a quad panel Venom sketch. 2021 Marvel Premiere. Is that an Upper Deck product?
Yeah, it's an Upper Deck product. It's one of their top tier high-end products. It physically comes out in a tin, and you open the tin is the pack essentially.
Okay.
When you open it, on the top you're going to get a dual panel, a triple panel, quad panel, or a 5x7. And there's a ranking of those in rarity. You know, the 5x7 is the most rare, then the quad, triple, dual, and then you open a pack, and in the pack there's always at least one single sketch card in there too. So you're going to get 2 sketches per tin in the Premiere product, and that box, ranges anywhere from $600 to $1,000 just for one box.
Now, when you go to some card shows, a number of card shows, it sounds like, after we talked, but what is the one you mentioned that is mainly like the one that guys go to if they're looking for sketches or artists?
Easily, hands down, it's the original art expo in Orlando, Florida, generally around the first part of the year, January, February.
And you just went to this, right?
I did this year, yeah.
Okay, so this is how long have they been doing that?
This was the second year, so they've only done it twice.
And have you gone to both of them or just this year's?
I have both of them.
What did you feel like? Do you feel like it's a growing in popularity convention?
It is. It's an intimate convention. I think there was about 800 people there this year.
Okay.
But it is very concentrated in the fact that the people there love original art and, collect original art, anywhere from a sketch card to literally probably one of the best paintings they had there was the Hildebrandt painting for the Hobbits calendar. If you're familiar as a nerd, like that's one of the biggest.
That's so cool. Okay, so then if there are all these artists there, what are some of like the maybe bigger names of? I guess who are the bigger names in the sketch world?
Yeah, in Marvel cards specifically, some of the bigger names are going to be the Masterpieces artists, the artists who were hired by Skybox or Upper Deck to create a full set of trading cards, and they were the only artists, or one of the only artists that contributed to it. So it's original art for the trading card, which is different than going to a comic book and pulling out a panel and using published art. And there's a place for that, and I enjoy it as well, but that's what makes it different. But you had Julie Bell, who was one of the 1996 Marvel Masterpieces artists there.
Okay.
You had Dave Palumbo, who was the artist that you mentioned for the 2020 Marvel Masterpieces. He was there. You had Simone Bianchi, who was the artist for 2018 Marvel Masterpieces, and his art is in a number of other sets along with Dave Palumbo's art. And then you had, of course, Dan DeSantos, who I mentioned a few minutes ago. I mean, that's some of the biggest artists in Marvel card history. They were all there at that expo.
I'm starting to. Here's what's funny is there's a Dave Palumbo that I've known from the Sports Cards Nonsense Facebook group for a while. We've been Facebook friends. I don't know. I don't know if he's an artist, but that's the only the fact that I do know a guy named Dave Palumbo who's into cards. It's really begging a lot of questions right now. I'm like on my Facebook account, just looking him up. That's funny that there is someone by that name. I don't know if it's the same guy, but I'm definitely going to look into that.
Does he have a beard?
This gentleman does not have a beard. No.
It would not be the same Dave Palumbo.
Okay. that is I hope he hears this. I'm going to make sure he does. So obviously these guys are more sought after. Do you find like there being maybe more of a demand for them now that Topps has entered the space and they're, going pretty hard, not only with Marvel, but also with Star Wars? They've already been doing it. I can only assume they're going to add them to Disney products as well, and probably their Pixar cards as well.
It's an interesting time for the Marvel card collector who's been around for a little while, because everything is changing. Historically with Upper Deck, we knew we were going to get a Fleer Ultra set, a Metal set, a Masterpieces set, a Premier set. We knew what to expect. Well, now at Topps, we don't know what to expect. Now, we've seen a few things. We've got our hands on Topps Genesis, X-Men 97. But in terms of original art, we don't know really what to expect moving forward with Topps. And so in a lot of the Marvel card collector space puts a lot of emphasis on original art cards, where the artist makes the art specifically for the card. And I think Topps will do that, and I think they'll do a great job. But it's still an unknown right now for the collector.
So I don't know if you're familiar with this. I'm actually doing a quick Google search to see if I can get the right color scheme, but I'm trying to find out. On Star Wars cards, they have started doing this thing where they are doing the foil on the front of it is a different shade. So it's like some are silver, some are gold, some are black, some are purple, I believe. But the shade determines just how maybe rare the artist is, or maybe it's a not rarity, but the quality of their work. There's something to note.
Just a tiering system.
Yeah, it's a tiering system that I think is actually, I like the idea behind it. It's just that I'm not sure exactly how to go about reading that, as far as, whether or not is that actually the best? Is it the best because it's the rarest, or is it the best because the artist is the most well known? That's something I need to look into.
Well, I would imagine when Topps or even Upper Deck, when they're negotiating with an artist on what their commission rate or cost per sketch is going to be, the artists will be more expensive the more in demand they are, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Alex Ross is probably right now the pinnacle of Marvel artists. Alex Ross, Jim Lee's in DC, but he would be one of them. Todd McFarlane, who doesn't do Marvel anymore, but if Topps was going to hire an artist like them to do work, they would probably be the most expensive and in demand. And by virtue, you would probably get less of their cards in the product. And so I think sometimes that, you do see the more popular artists being this more scarce artist in the product.
Now, what do you think about that? Do you think that is a good idea, that they kind of tell you what the more demand or the higher tiered sketches are, or do you think that should be left alone to the collector?
Well, I think the collector in the market is going to make the determination no matter what.
Sure.
Example, if a new up and coming artist does 100 sketches for a product, but the art and the talent, it really, reveals itself on the card over time. Even though there may be more of those, they may be more valuable and more expensive because more people want them. So I think the market ultimately is going to determine that. What I do think is good, though, is when people are making a purchase, knowledge and builds confidence. Confidence builds a higher offer, a higher price. And the struggle I think that people have, especially if they're coming into the hobby for the first time, is there's that element of the unknown. They just don't quite understand it. And it creates a lack of confidence and willingness to pay, or even worse, they in their own lack of understanding overpay because they don't understand. And that can be detrimental to the market as well, in the same way that, choosing to not spend money because you're not sure. So I think anything that the maker of the product can do to create knowledge so people can make confident decisions, that just helps people, make offers on products.
I appreciate that. And I think the knowledge is what they're trying to, in effect, promote when they are trying to, add these colors to these sketches. I like the idea, because then it's like, I know nothing of who this artist is. And maybe sometimes I can't even read the name on the back of the sketch card, but I know it's like a black foil. I know black foil is like the rarer one.
Typically like a 1 of 1 or out of 10 in Topps, I think, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, okay, well, I know that that's the rare one. So that makes me more excited to know I got something rare, but I assume that's what it is. I guess that's kind of one of the problems. And I did find where I saw this most recently, it was in the Star Wars hyperspace, their sales material. When they sent that out, they had the information about the sketch cards. They said goes from top to, or I guess the bottom to top: silver foil, purple foil, gold, blue, and then black foil being the I guess the best. But it doesn't really tell me why it's the best. It doesn't say it's the rarest artist or anything like that. So that's something I'm still curious to find out more about. But if nothing else, it is a way of educating the audience about that artist or card.
That's interesting. In the 2001 Topps Marvel Legends set that I mentioned has sketch cards, in their checklist for the base set, it included, there was I think it's 4 tiers, and I may be wrong about this. I have to go look at my notes, but they did a tiering system, and they said, well, this group of artists had the most sketches, and then fewer, and then the fewest being the top tier. And to have a complete base set, you'd have to have 1 sketch from each tier to technically complete your set. But they released what the rarity was for the collectors so they would know.
Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah. I'm hoping maybe they start giving out more of that information, because I do think, especially for those set collectors, it would be handy to say, they've completed the set by having a sketch from that artist, at least one of them. I never asked, how big is your collection of sketches? Do you have many?
Oh gosh. I collect 2 main characters, and it's Peter Parker, Spider-Man, not to be confused with Miles Morales or any of the other Spider characters in the Spider-Verse.
Fair enough.
Peter Parker Spider-Man, the Spider-Man. And I love Miles Morales. They're all great. I just can't afford all of them, to be frank.
Gotcha.
Spider-Man routinely is the highest overall selling card and per card average, the highest seller in Marvel cards. But the second I collect is the X-Men female character, Magic. If you're familiar with her,
Yeah.
Ileana Rasputin. And she is, so I collect Peter Parker Spider-Man, not as a master collector because that would be impossible and you'd have to have an infinite amount of money. He just has too many cards and he's too expensive.
Sure.
I have a very nice Spider-Man collection.
Really?
I'm grateful to have. And I have a number of sketches in that. I have 2 John Romita Sr. pack-full sketches are probably my best sketches. I have a Dave Palumbo Marvel Masterpieces sketch we just talked about. I have 2 Dan DeSanto Spider-Man sketches. So a number of nice sketches. For the Magic collection, I'm probably pushing about 80 sketches for her.
Oh, wow. Now, I'm looking at you. You're in your office, your day job. You're not just always a YouTube maker. You're doing a day job that all of us have 9 times out of 10. I'm looking at your back wall. I'm seeing some plaques. The only thing I'm not seeing in your office are any of these sketches. And I'm starting to question.
Spidey.
You do have a Spider-Man. Okay. I was starting to question just how much do you let your nerd out when you are at the office?
So, full disclosure, I've been in this particular office only for about 2 weeks now. I'm still moving stuff into it.
Okay.
But I have two spaces at home. I have a study, and then I call it my YouTube studio. But both of those are more than full of Marvel stuff.
I gotcha. Okay, very cool. Well, one other question I had was when it comes to the sketches that guys are pulling, I as I mentioned, I break sometimes, and when I'm breaking, I may pull a sketch and it looks fantastic, and the guys are super excited. And the question inevitably comes up, should I get that graded? What are your thoughts on grading sketches?
Well, it depends on if I want to be hated. There's some strong opinions about grading sketches. Okay. And I would say, for the most part, there's room for everyone's opinion. I'm not trying to be politically correct or nice guy, all that kind of stuff. But there's justifications for one or the other. Number one, when an artist sketches on a card, they are damaging the surface. So it makes very little sense to grade a damaged card when you think about it that way.
Okay.
I mean, they're literally taking their pen and they're carving into it. They're taking their pencil and they're carving into the card. They're, resurfacing the surface with paint and colors. Bill Sienkiewicz, one of the greatest artists for Marvel, period, of all time, the dude literally will use spit when he's
really
creating his works of art. So there's really not a centering component. Now there can be, obviously, if there's a stamp on the front or something, you can have something to base it off of, but there's really not a centering component. Most of these artists, when they literally take tape on the back and they'll tape it to a piece of cardboard so they have something bigger to hold it with. So there's been tape applied to it. Like there's not a condition. If someone were to get a 10 on a sketch card, it makes me question the grader and how it's being applied. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does. In fact, I have a personal opinion. I don't think you should be able to grade sketches on the traditional scale. The traditional scale, exactly. I think an authenticated one, like if you wanted to send it in for encapsulation to say, hey, this was authentic from that set, then okay, why not? Maybe we could do something like that. But to see, like, if you go and search like Marvel sketch and then say, just put in PSA, and you're going to find the very first one that came up for me was a PSA 10. And then a couple down, there's a PSA 6. And I'll be honest with you, they both look like great cards. How do I know why is one a 6? Why is one a 9? Why is one a 4 going through this? It doesn't make sense.
Edges and corners become about the only thing you can really start grading then. It's tough to understand, right? Now, look, grading companies are not going to stop grading sketches because people will pay for it,
Yeah.
right? And I understand the business. The second part is authenticating. And I think that's the part that's overlooked the most in grading is the fact that you're getting the card authenticated. Sketches, I think getting them authenticated, if the grader understands how to authenticate those, is really important. And I do think that there is a reason that you should consider getting sketches authenticated, depending on, how valuable it is and so forth and so on. And so where you don't want the potential for counterfeits to be made because you've already got yours authenticated.
Now that to me seems more like you have to have a different kind of grader coming in, because the authenticator there is now having to determine not a signature. I can go and Google, or I've got an archive of all this person's signatures. I can compare it to there. But now it's like, hey, is this a forgery? Is this someone saying this is a Dave Palumbo, very unique, very nice sketch, and is now worth much more because we are confirming it's Dave Palumbo, versus this other guy, some guy in his basement actually made it and just claimed to be Dave Palumbo.
Yeah, I mean, look, there is on eBay in the last couple of years, there was a particular artist that was recreating sketches. I mean, like pretty spot on.
Really?
And they were very desirable, high quality pieces of art, and on card stock that people like, and they were being put on eBay and resold, and people were buying them, and they were not counterfeit in the sense of someone was trying to present it as the real thing, because the artist that was doing the recreation was signing their name on the back, so it wasn't like they were pretending to be somebody else,
sure,
like a forgery, but it was a recreation and not the original thing. But if you don't know, if you don't study the checklist and you don't know, you would bid on that as if you thought it was the real thing. And it looked spectacular, looked amazing. And if a grader who was authenticated it didn't do the research to find out that artist was or wasn't on the checklist, or even if that artist was on the checklist, that this wasn't their art, that, pack pulled, then, they could be misled. What I would encourage people who are thinking about getting into sketch cards is to get in a good community where you can really vet your purchases from, especially if they're big time purchases, with other collectors who study and know the checklist, who study and know the artist. Do not be afraid to reach out to the artist. I've done this before. Hey, so-and-so, I'm thinking about buying this sketch. I just want to verify that you sketched this and that you put it in the pack. Not like they put it in the pack, but they send it into the company to be pack inserted.
Oh, interesting.
And then get them they'll know because they spent whatever amount of time on it, right? They'll go, yeah, that's mine. I did that and I sent it to Upper Deck. And if they didn't, then I'm like, hey, I'm out.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind that, like, especially if Topps is going to be sending these out. If they didn't, I don't want them to post pictures of the cards that the artists have done, because then someone could just take it and copy it themselves and just say it was them.
Many of the artists do. Many of the artists, when the release date happens, will go and post their catalog of cards. And you can go, I love going to check I'll get the artist checklist and I'll go to their Instagram account or their Facebook account, because I love to see what they may have in the product so I know what to be looking for and what to chase.
That's a good point, because I do follow a number of artists now, and I see in some of them, I'm like, wow, I am chasing after some of those that they've posted. But at the same time, I would think that kind of takes away from an idea that Topps could say, just keep on record all of the cards. If someone ever wanted to authenticate or make sure the card was real, they could, either send a picture to them and just say, hey, can you confirm that this artist made this card? Or they could at least send it to the grading shops and say, hey, these are the ones that we have. We can confirm these were the sketches done by these specific artists.
Right. But historically, it's good to, if you're going to spend big money on a card, that you figure out a way to verify, from the artist directly, or, in a good community of collectors, there's other ways to check, right? Maybe they saw or knew when it was pulled, that, you can verify that. Whether you're in a Facebook group or Discord or whatever, I think it's good to not collect alone, especially with something it's something that can be as confusing as sketch cards.
All right. Last question I think I've got for you, because I know you don't have much more time, but I was curious. I saw back in January of this year, there was a 2008 Upper Deck Marvel Masterpieces Hulk card by Julio Nar, I believe.
Yeah, we affectionately just call him Nar.
Just
but
Nar?
Julio, yes. There's a long history there, yes.
So Nar, this card sold for, looks like a little over $3,200. Is that like for your
and that's
recent
one of his
memory?
cheaper ones.
Oh, that's one of the so that's what I was going to ask. Is that what the highest that you can recall, or are there much higher ones?
No, there are, I wouldn't call them like confirmed because they're not on a public forum, but there are sales rumored up to the 5-figure mark.
Really? And so is that just for NAR, or are there others that have gone even higher than that?
I mean, I paid personally $5,000 for a sketch last year.
Wow. Okay. So that just because you put in, Marvel sketch on here on eBay, obviously that's not going to give you all the ones that are out there.
That's the thing that's going to be tough. So the Marvel cards is still small enough and the community is still tight enough that a lot of the big sales, the more desirable cards don't make it to places like eBay. They're already transferring in a private sale,
Gotcha.
Because people know I'm a Magic collector. So when the Bill Sienkiewicz Magic sketch was pulled out of Platinum, of which he only did 10 sketches for, immediately the collector that pulled it reached out to me and said, "Hey, I pulled it. Let's get a number that works for both of us." And we did.
Wow. Well, what's funny? I went over to Card Ladder and I plugged it into the sales history. I just put in Marvel sketch, and there was one. Now, granted, this was September of 2023, but there was a 2023 Funko Marvel Upper Deck from a Benjamin Butcher of Spider-Man, actually, that did $22,000. So
Funko is a whole nother thing that I know nothing about. I haven't opened one Funko pack to get a card. Although I do have a Mandalorian Funko Pop in front of me here in my office, but I don't know anything about those. That sounds like I can't explain why there would be a $22,000 sale for that. I can think of a lot of other Marvel cards I would buy before I bought that, but I'm not a Funko collector either.
My question to you then is, if we are at a point where people are spending this kind of money on sketches, now granted the 22,000, that seems like a lot to you, understandable. But if people have spent 10,000 plus on a sketch card, would you say that right now, are we entering more of like a sketch heyday? Like people are going after these things like never before, or is this just kind of par for the course, normal traction that you've seen in the past?
I think for your collectors that have been around for a while, there's nothing new that sketches are in product. Sketches were the reason for Marvel card collectors from, 2007 and 8 on. Upper Deck did a really good job putting sketches in almost all of their product. And for a while there, in some of the higher end product, it was every box. But with Topps coming into the marketplace the way that they are, and now having the Marvel card license, it's just being introduced to a broader audience. And for them, it's the first time. And there's going to be a learning curve there. And it's going to be important that for those who are able to create content and kind of, help shine light on sketch cards, that they do so in a way that's educational so that people can learn how to understand it, research it, and then make a purchasing decision that's good for them.
Okay. Well, I for one, it feels to me like that is becoming the go-to, even in Topps cards, at least. I'm used to what sells better, right? Like it's a lower numbered cards of the bigger characters that typically does better than most other things, the inserts or other, I guess, gimmicky cards that they might include in there do. But the sketch is what I've noticed, especially like even in the X-Men 97 launch, a lot of those sketches have done better than some of the lower numbered parallels.
For X-Men 97 specifically, for me, the sketches are the chase in that product.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sad. I claimed one in a group and it never got responded to.
That's sad.
That happens. But yeah, I think that's the chase for that product. It may not always be the number one chase. It's going to vary from product to product.
Yeah.
I would tell you not all sketch cards are equal. So be careful.
Okay.
There are characters that there are a lot of sketches of. Example, I've spent more money on on a number of my Magic sketches, and I have Spider-Man, but there's a lot more Spider-Man sketches out there without necessarily all the great quality. So it's just, there's a lot of variables that determine what someone might would pay for a sketch.
Well, I think this has been very valuable, especially for myself as someone who's getting more into the collection of sketches. I've always liked them, but now I'm actually trying to obtain them for myself. I think others are obviously doing the same, as we're seeing some of these in the more recent Topps releases starting to increase in price. So I wouldn't be surprised to see, as Topps is bringing more attention to this space. Granted, anyone could argue that Upper Deck had already been doing a great job of that, but now that you've got the marketing machine behind Topps, that is Fanatics, that they're going to put this out, it'll get to a bigger audience.
Yeah, it's definitely different because there's cooperation from Disney and Marvel with the trading card company, where there wasn't quite that cooperation before with Upper Deck. I mean, as soon as Topps got the license and announced that they were releasing product, on Marvel's, Twitter page, X page, like they were promoting it. That did not happen when Upper Deck had the license.
Interesting. Wow. Okay. See, that's very interesting to me, and it makes me excited for the future, but also very, very curious and cautious at the same time, because I don't want it to see like every product, every box, has a sketch in it. Even though I would like that personally, and sometimes it is cool, but I also feel like sometimes when we have that many sketches, it kind of dilutes the demand for them. And then there are also just people throwing in black and white little pencil napkin sketches that I'm like, oh, I don't really care for that. So,
well, if you go back to 97, that pencil napkin sketch might be considered the grail.
That's fair.
But if you pull that out of a 2025 product, you might be disappointed. I would tell you my experience with the collectors that were a fickle bunch. We had sketches in every box, and then we're like, I'm not a huge fan of that. I'd rather just have quality sketches in every 4 boxes or 6 boxes, right? But then all of a sudden, that's what we get, and then the collector's like, oh man, I really miss when we had a sketch per box. So we're a fickle bunch.
I like that though. I like people who have discerning taste. They know what they like and they go after it. I think that also helps to keep more of the riffraff, imitators, the people who are just putting something out there because they think someone will buy it. It keeps them at bay, because they're not going to get purchased at a snap like some other card collecting might do.
To your point, I think if Topps selects artists with quality work and ability, and they take the time to curate that well, whether they put it in every box or one per case, then I think the collector will be happy.
Justin Underwood of Spidey Hits, thank you so much for joining the show. I really do appreciate it. And I appreciate maybe the opportunity for us doing some stuff in the future as well. I know that was kind of like what was alluded to.
I really hope so.
I really think your knowledge in this space is absolutely phenomenal, especially in the sense that I'm not all that familiar with sketches in the least, other than I like them. I don't know any of the artists, but seeing some of your YouTube videos where you're actually going and talking to the artists, and you get more down and dirty with some of this and other Marvel cards, I appreciated that. So if you guys have not checked out Spidey Hits, go to YouTube, give him a follow, give him a like, do all the things that you need to do to support Justin. But thank you again, man.
Jesse, you're very kind. It's an honor to be on your channel and your podcast. I hope this brought some value to your viewers, and hopefully I'll be back soon.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate it. I look forward to it, and we will talk to you soon, man.
As always, hope you have a marvelous day.
Oh, I like that. All right, man. Bye-bye. All right, there you go. That was Justin Underwood, again, of Spidey Hits. Great guy. We got set up by a guy who works with Topps. He knows we're both from the South. We both like non-sports stuff, and I'm really glad that he did, because it seems like there could be potential for us to do more things together. So I mentioned it, like, it's a little weird. So I want to apologize, because we're going to take a curve, right? And this is something I don't think I've really done much on either podcast before, but I just want to take a moment to share something personal. And this is just something that is very raw, so that's why I'm sharing it now. But I try my best on the podcast to keep it like, business with adding like some humor of personal life, but sometimes personal life isn't always humorous. And now it's been about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. I got an update from my wife. Her father passed away about a couple hours ago, and it wasn't completely unexpected. He had an accident, and as of today, he has passed away. Steve Hovies was a great man, and I am so grateful to him because without him, I wouldn't have my amazing wife and my beautiful daughter. He gave me the first full set of cards that I've ever had, and I still have it. It is a 1989 collegiate collection. Coke made this product. It's for Alabama. He went to Bama. He's a huge Bama fan. He gave me his full set of football cards. It's got Joe Namath and a few other a few other big names in there. I've looked into the past, like in the past, I thought like, oh, maybe I'll sell it or something like that. But I don't think I know I won't. I'll never sell it now. But he was a great guy. The guy was like the Energizer Bunny. He has had so many things go on in his life where it's like, oh man, you'd think that's going to knock him out, but he was 76, and still going strong up until this accident. And, I want to pay just a little bit of tribute to the guy. Cause, when I met her, he was more than kind. There was a certain amount of fear, into a suitor of his daughter's. There was a little fear he struck with me, but a healthy fear. He was just a nice person who shared enough of his self with me that made me feel very sad when this happened. And I can't be there where my wife is right now with him. And I just wanted to say, I'll miss you, Steve. And, I don't talk a lot about faith or religion or anything like that, but I am someone of a man of faith, and I do think I'll be able to see that man again. But until then, we'll miss you. Thank you for everything. Guys, thank you for listening. As always, it is very much appreciated. We'll see you on the next one.